Yet on our planet, there are places where human limits are pushed to the extreme. What does a person feel when standing at the edge of the world? This is a journey to the most extreme places on our planet. We're limit. Today we travel deep into the Himalayas of Nepal, to the highest point on our planet. A world of white ridges stretching endlessly toward the sky. What kind of view awaits at the highest place on Earth? This is the summit of Mount Everest. Altitude, 8,848 meters. The highest point on our planet. To the south lies Nepal, where deep valleys carve through the Himalayas. To the southeast stands Lhotse, rising 8,516 meters. And beyond the northern ridges stretches the vast Tibetan Plateau. The summit sits directly on the border between Nepal and China, a place where two worlds meet. To the west flows the Rongbuk Glacier, winding through the mountains. This is the route climbers use from the Tibetan side. Further south rise jagged ridges of 7,000-meter peaks, a harsh landscape of rock and ice. In 1953, humans finally reached the summit of the highest mountain on Earth. Before that moment, many expeditions had attempted the climb, but none had made it to the top. Extreme cold, violent winds, and air so thin that every step became a battle. For decades, Everest had resisted human ascent. But in the 20th century, mountaineering technology began to change. Advanced cold-weather clothing, lighter and more reliable climbing equipment, and the use of supplemental oxygen. These innovations pushed the limits of human exploration to the highest altitudes on Earth. A mountaineer from New Zealand, Edmund Hillary, and a Sherpa from Nepal, Tenzing Norgay. Together, they became the first humans to stand on the summit of Mount Everest. And supporting this challenge were the people who know the Himalayas better than anyone else. The Sherpa. They are an ethnic group who have lived for generations in the high mountains of the Himalayas. Over time, their bodies have adapted to life at extreme altitude. Even in thin air, where most people struggle to breathe, they are able to move and work with remarkable strength. For decades, their skills have supported countless mountaineering expeditions. They guide climbers through the mountains, choose safe routes, and carry heavy loads across dangerous terrain. Crossing unstable glaciers, climbing steep ice walls. Often, it is the Sherpa who lead the way. Many say that Himalayan mountaineering, including the ascent of Everest, would not be possible without them. But for the Sherpa, these mountains are more than a workplace. They are sacred. For generations, the Sherpa have revered this mountain as the home of a goddess. They believe that spirits dwell within the peaks, and before each expedition, a prayer ceremony is performed. Because these mountains are not meant to be conquered, they are places to be respected. That is the way the people of the Himalayas have always understood the mountains. But Everest presents another challenge. Winter. The climbing season on Everest usually runs from spring to early summer. During this short window, the winds are relatively calm, and most expeditions attempt their ascent. But in winter, Everest becomes an entirely different mountain. At the summit in spring, temperatures average around -20 degrees Celsius. In winter, they can drop below -40, and the jet stream can bring winds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. In these conditions, Everest is not defined by its height alone. The environment itself becomes the extreme. Yet people continue to challenge the mountain, driven by the human desire to reach the summit under the most difficult conditions. In 1980, two Polish climbers, Leszek Cici and Krzysztof Wieliczki, they became the first people in history to reach the summit of Everest in winter. It happened 27 years after the first successful ascent of the mountain. The history of climbing Everest is also the history of route discovery. In the 1920s, the earliest expeditions approached the mountain from the Tibetan side. These explorers attempted to find a path to the summit from the north. But after the Second World War, Tibet became increasingly difficult for foreign climbers to access. As a result, mountaineers began searching for a new route from the Nepalese side of the mountain. In 1953, a route along the southeast ridge of Everest was successfully established. It was along this route that Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay made their historic ascent. Even today, most climbers attempting Everest follow this same southeast ridge route toward the summit. In recent decades, however, Everest climbing has changed dramatically. The Nepalese government now charges a climbing permit fee of around $11,000 per person. That is more than 160,000 yen in Japan. And when the full cost of an expedition is included, climbing Everest can cost more than 10 million yen. As a result, Everest has gradually transformed from a mountain once attempted only by a handful of explorers into a mountain of commercial expeditions. In fact, Mount Everest was once at the bottom of the sea. Near the summit, fossils of marine organisms such as crinoids have been discovered. This is because the Indian continent collided with the Eurasian continent and pushed the land upward. As a result, Everest is still rising by several millimeters every year. The Himalayas are a mountain range that continues to grow even today. Because of the extreme altitude, unusual phenomena also occur. The air pressure is very low, and at the summit, water boils at around 70 degrees Celsius. For that reason, it is impossible to make a steaming hot cup of instant noodles on the summit. In recent years, the increasing number of climbers has sometimes caused traffic jams near the summit. These delays can even become deadly. In fact, many accidents do not occur during the ascent, but during the descent, when climbers' strength is already exhausted. Above 8,000 meters, climbers enter what mountaineers call the death zone. At this altitude, the human body slowly begins to die. It is not a place where people can survive for long. Along the northeast ridge, there is a climber known simply as Green Boots. His body still remains there today. Recovering bodies at this altitude is almost impossible. Over time, the location became a grim landmark, silently marking the route to the summit. Not far from the top lies an area climbers call Rainbow Valley. The name comes from the bright colors of down jackets scattered across the snow. Climbers who never returned from the mountain. In the extreme conditions of the death zone, some climbers report hallucinations. Others say they heard voices even when no one else was there. And those who attempt the summit must pass this place. There is no other path to the top of the world. Mount Everest is not a mountain where people simply compete for height. This is a place where human desire is laid completely bare. Fame, challenge, glory. Carry in all of these, people attempt to stand upon this summit. but the mountain says nothing. This is the highest peak in the world, and a place where human nature itself is tested. Word limit,